Everyone blames greedy bankers for the 2008 financial crisis. And sure, greed played a role. But that explanation is comfortable. Too comfortable. Because the truth is darker. This collapse wasn't chaos, it was choreography. If you think the economy works the way school taught you, you already lost, and it gets worse. Imagine waking up in a world where money suddenly stops making sense. Your bank still looks normal from the outside, but behind the glass, executives are quietly asking a terrifying question. Are we dead yet? Stock markets are bleeding. Retirement accounts are evaporating. Entire companies are worth less than the buildings they sit in. Banks are collapsing faster than people can process the panic. Money is vanishing like it has a personal vendetta against everyone. Even economists are panicking, which is rare, because they're usually confused, not afraid. The official story goes like this. People took mortgages they couldn't afford. Too many houses, too much optimism, too much debt. Irresponsible borrowers, they said. Regular people living beyond their means. And that story stuck, because it was neat, it was clean, and most importantly, it gave everyone else a villain they could point at without looking in the mirror. But that's only the version they want you to remember. Because behind the scenes, banks weren't just giving out risky loans. They were manufacturing risk, intentionally. Mortgage lenders handed out loans to anyone with a pulse. No income? Approved. No job? Approved. No ability to repay? Especially approved. But here's the key detail. The banks didn't care if those loans failed, because they never planned to keep them. Instead, they bundled thousands of bad mortgages together, chopped them up, renamed them, and sold them as safe investments to pension funds, governments, and investors around the world. These were called mortgage-backed securities, and they were toxic. But the labels said AAA. The ratings agencies, the supposed referees, stamped garbage as gold. Why? Because the banks paid them to. This wasn't a mistake. It was a ticking time bomb, and everyone involved pretended it didn't exist. It was like watching someone juggle knives while insisting, relax, the knives are diversified. And here's where it gets worse. Banks didn't just sell these toxic assets, they bet against them. They sold poison, then secretly took out insurance in case it killed the buyer. So when the system collapsed, the people who caused it didn't just survive, they profited. This is the part they never like to mention. Because once housing prices stopped rising, the illusion shattered. Defaults increased, payments stopped. Suddenly, those safe investments were revealed for what they really were, financial landmines. One bank failed, then another. Then trust vanished completely. And in finance, trust is oxygen. Without it, everything suffocates. Lending froze, markets locked up. Companies that had done nothing wrong were suddenly unable to operate. People lost jobs not because they failed, but because the system did. Some experts still argue it wasn't a crisis at all. It was a robbery wearing a crisis costume. And then came the moment the world held its breath. This is when markets froze. This is when investors realized they were trapped. This is when government stepped in and said the words that shattered every illusion of fairness. Too big to fail. Banks were rescued. Executives were protected. Bonuses survived. Meanwhile, millions of people lost homes, savings, and futures. If money could scream, this is the moment it would have lost its voice. And yet most people think it ended there. It didn't. The crisis didn't end in 2009. It just went quiet. The damage settled into everyday life. Wages stalled. Housing became unaffordable. Trust in institutions eroded. Your cost of living today? Your student debt. Your housing prices. Your suspicion of banks. Yeah, that's not accidental. The financial system survived, but only by rewriting the rules in silence. Not to prevent the next collapse, but to make sure the same people survive it again. This event still affects you, even if you never studied it. Even if you never owned a house. Even if you think finance has nothing to do with your life. Because finance isn't numbers. It's human behavior dressed in a suit. Money isn't the problem, people are. And every crisis teaches the same lesson. Greed always wins the short game and destroys the long one. And if you think this story is disturbing, wait until you hear what happened next.